Now in its 20th year, the Lincoln Navigator has become a staple of the American luxury full-size SUV marketplace. And yet despite that long tenure, it also has a long history of, well, second bestness. Because the Navigator has sold about 17,000 units annually over the past 2 or 3 years, and that pales in comparison to the crosstown rival Cadillac Escalade, which does about 40,000 units a year. And so for 2025, the Ford Motor Company has made plenty of changes to this 5th generation Navigator. It gets new looks, it gets a new tailgate, and it gets a lot of new tech. But is it all enough to close that gap between Lincoln and Cadillac? Before we decide, don't forget to subscribe to the CarGurus YouTube channel. You can watch our reviews, you can watch our new podcast, and of course, if you want to read our full review of the Lincoln Navigator, or maybe start shopping for one, you can do that at cargurus.com. Compared to older models, our 5th gen Navigator actually looks a bit understated. But of course, we are talking in relative terms here. The proportions alone are jaw-dropping. 6.5 feet tall, 94.6 inches wide, if you include the mirrors, 210 inches long. And that's for this standard length Navigator. Pick the extended Navigator L and you're stretching out over almost 222 inches. And yet, once you get past the massive sparkling grille, things are pretty subdued. I think that our headlights look fantastic, especially with these striations here at the corners. And we have pristine white metallic tri-coat paint. I call it white. It's $750, and unless you get limo driver black, infinite black metallic, all of the paint colors are $750. In addition to black and white, Lincoln offers gray, another white, and blue. I'd pick the blue. The long chrome Navigator emblem at the front quarter is a nice familiar touch, and I appreciate this chrome strip below the windows. And this window treatment behind the C-pillar mirrors the striations on the headlights. The Lincoln Navigator's big, obviously, but it's also very visually balanced. I think this is a really good looking SUV, and believe it or not, this is the base trim. It does start at $99,995 or $102,190 after that pesky destination fee. And that number, well, that's a lot more than the 2024 Lincoln Navigator started at. That one started at $85,260. The reason for that price difference is that Lincoln has effectively axed the base trim in favor for this better equipped entry point. Now, the Navigator is built alongside the Ford F-250 and Ford Expedition in Kentucky at Ford's truck plant, but that does not mean that it's been impervious to price hikes in today's tariff economy. We've already seen the destination fee on this Navigator go up $200, and our options, well, the total cost of those has gone up $880. All of that in just 4 months since this vehicle launched. At the rear, we have my favorite new feature. The 2025 Navigator, like the 2025 Ford Expedition, employs a split tailgate. The top 3 quarters lift up like a typical SUV's hatch, but the bottom quarter folds down. Now, this lower piece here, this is great for holding in loose items like grocery bags or Elliot's camera bag. And then if you fold it down, well, you can use it as a work surface, a table, make those sandwiches for all the kids at soccer practice, or you can use it as a bench if you want to watch the kids at soccer practice. The only downside of this feature is that it does add a little more reach when you're loading up your cargo, but I think it's well worth it. Now, in terms of cargo capacity, the Navigator has 107 cubic feet of trunk space. That's a lot, and it expands to 121.6 if you get the Navigator L. Again, those are big numbers, but they do pale next to the Escalade, which has 121 and 142.8 respectively. However, a new 40-20-40 split third row means you can access a little extra cargo space in the Navigator without sacrificing the entire third row of seats. Essentially, the 2025 Lincoln Navigator and the Cadillac Escalade are supposed to be The perfect XL livery vehicle. Luxurious, comfortable, powerful. They're our versions of Japan's Toyota Century or Germany's Mercedes S-Class. And while driving the Navigator is actually a pretty good experience, more on that later, I have to say that when it comes to shuttling people or cargo, it's not that surprising why it keeps coming in second place. Not only can't the Navigator match the Escalade in terms of cargo capacity, but it's a bit of a pain for rear seat passengers. These seats are very comfortable with lots of power adjustments and nice bolsters. I like the center console here. This is nice and comfortable. And the leather itself is incredibly luxurious, but the seats are also big and the front seats are big too. I mean, you can see just the bulk on the back of this one. And as a result, I don't have as much legroom as I would want in a vehicle of this size and this price. Lincoln does say it offers more second row legroom than the Cadillac Escalade, but honestly, it doesn't feel like it to me. Also, with the admittedly very impressive center console, the only way to the back is to tilt the middle seats forward. And like all power adjustable seats, the process of moving them forward and backwards takes way too long. Not to mention, if you've got a car seat in this one, or in that one, well, you're not getting into the back seat if you buy this center console. No, in fact, I would say, as we go backwards again, that the person, somewhat surprisingly, with the best seat in the Lincoln Navigator is the driver, especially if they like tech. Lincoln includes an 11.1-inch center touchscreen display on every Navigator. It looks nice, but if you're raising an eyebrow and saying, that's nothing too special, I promise, it's not the showstopper. That would be this. 48 high-resolution inches of panoramic display showing you everything from your speed to navigation to what you've got on the stereo. The first time I sat down in here, I was immediately blown away. Now, in the past, a lot of shoppers have looked at the Navigator and said, why am I going to spend an extra $15,000 or $20,000 for this when I could get largely the same thing out of a Ford Expedition? Well, this is why. The Navigator's big screens blend with the little screen, and it works in concert with the steering wheel controls too. Google built in as standard and the maps display up top. If you want to adjust your steering wheel position or your head-up display, you just use this D-pad on the wheel while monitoring the output on the big screen. Want to pin other functions up here? You can do that via the center display. The Ford Expedition does have its own version of this sort of display, but it's much smaller, much more restricted. Here, it feels like you're on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise. And on top of the great tech display, there are other really cool features in the Navigator. We have remote start, we have active noise cancellation, we have ambient lighting, we've got a Revell 28 speaker audio system, standard. And then there are what I like to think of as Lincoln's rolling spa features. A digital scent diffuser, heated and ventilated seats, a heated steering wheel, a 24-way adjustable driver's and 22-way passenger seat, 30 and 28 in the black label trims, and Lincoln Rejuvenate. It's a wellness program that combines visuals with sounds, smells, massage. It's all meant to keep you relaxed, refreshed. I love it. So yeah, there is a reason to buy a Navigator instead of an Expedition. The Navigator also makes a bit more standard power than the Expedition. Both SUVs come equipped with a twin-turbo 3.5-liter V6 engine. The Navigator gets the high-output version standard. It's an upgrade on the Expedition. 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque, all managed by a 10-speed automatic transmission, means that you're not going to be wishing for a V8. No, this has plenty of get up and go, and it can tow a lot too, up to 8,700 pounds when equipped with the heavy-duty trailer tow package. That means it can outpull a Cadillac Escalade. It also means that with all that power and all that towing capability, you shouldn't expect good fuel economy, and we don't have it. EPA says it should get 22 mpg on the highway, 15 in the city, 17 combined, and this test vehicle has about 3,500 miles on the odometer and is showing 16 mpg. But it also has been living in the greater Boston area, and with our level of traffic, well, we normally see city numbers that are well below the EPA estimate. From a performance perspective, the Navigator is very impressive. It sounds good, it handles better than a big SUV should, and it can downright hustle off the line. This vehicle has an adaptive damping suspension, which does a really nice job of smoothing out road imperfections, but I will say the Navigator comes with big wheels, 22 inches on this one. You can get them up to 24 inches, and that just always kind of subtracts from what would otherwise be a very smooth roll. Now, one quirky little feature in the Navigator, and actually in the Ford Expedition as well, is this steering wheel shape. It's not a circle, it's not quite a square either. They'll call it a squircle while I throw up in my mouth a little bit. I don't know if I love it, particularly not if you're really getting into the corners. You know, it doesn't feel quite as natural as a traditional steering wheel would. But then again, this vehicle isn't meant for corner carving or really spirited driving. No, it's meant about staying relaxed and comfortable on long, probably long highway drives. And with Blue Cruise included as standard equipment and coming with a free 4-year trial, well, you can knock out some serious highway mileage with very little driver intervention. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about Lincoln's turn signal view. It essentially, when you hit the turn signal, throws a live camera feed up on the big screen in front of you, the top one, that shows you what's in your blind spot, either the right side or the left side. And up until now, this has seemed to be pretty much an exclusively Kia or Hyundai technology. I haven't seen it in other vehicles, but I'm thrilled to see it here, particularly because when you're driving a vehicle as big and as heavy and as powerful and as expensive as a Lincoln Navigator, well, it's just the more views you have, the more visibility, it can only be a good thing. The 2025 Lincoln Navigator is an impressive piece of equipment, and it's got an impressive price tag. Starting over $100,000, this is not the cheapest way to shuttle 7 or 8 people around, but it is very nearly the nicest, and that goes extra for the Lincoln Navigator Black Label trims, which can go up over $130,000 if you check enough boxes on the options list. If I regularly had to put people in the third row, or I had a couple of car seats to fit in here, I wouldn't necessarily pick the Lincoln Navigator. But outside of those edge cases, it's hard to find fault with this vehicle. It's got great tech, good road manners, and attractive styling, enough to make it a worthy competitor to the more popular Cadillac Escalade. But what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and as always, thank you for watching. Don't forget to head to CarGurus.com where you can read our full review and shop for a Lincoln Navigator. We'll see you next time.